Welcome to Sad Boys, a podcast about feelings and other things also. I'm Jarvis. You got this, bud. Come on. Almost 100 episodes.
Alanah, which one am I?
George.
He's George.
George.
Yes.
He's George.
Yeah.
And we're joined by a very special guest, Alanah Pearce.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Hi.
Thanks for the help with the name.
Yeah, anytime I know you.
Alanah, you came here from, I would say, one of your mini jobs.
Several.
For those who don't know, Alanah, there's lots of places to know you from. You are a writer at Sony Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
You are a streamer, YouTuber, podcaster, DJ.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of things. Dog mom.
That's my most important job.
Yeah.
Right at the bottom.
Yeah.
Banjo.
Gamer, of course.
Yeah.
By blood.
Yeah.
What else am I
Used to work at
leaving out?
Rooster Teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Before that, I worked at IGN.
True.
Gamer is kind of like your...
Game is my most important, though.
That's like
Right,
being a
right.
veteran, right?
Yeah. Get the capital G, baby.
I didn't know that what we were dealing with.
Thank you for your God of War Ragnarok.
You, I think, of the people we've had, of our guests, I think you were the first person to come here from a meeting that was like at a company. Like most of these are freaking scumbag streamers.
It is a funny thing where anytime, because like so many of my friends are content creators and YouTubers, where anytime someone's like, hey, can you do this thing? I'm like, is it before 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
And like, okay, well then it's my lunch break for the day.
Yeah.
And Ethan will be like, how's 2 p.m. on this day to make this video in Venice? I'm like, how long is it going to take? He's like, 4 hours. I'm like, I have a job.
Yeah.
I can't just go to Venice with you.
We really appreciate you making the time. And
Anytime.
it also allows us to reminisce about our days working at a company. Because we know
I'm
what
so
that's
glad
like.
to be able to do that for you.
Yeah.
A company, it's like a Skinner box. So you get those little moments of dopamine and success. And then ultimately you feel unfulfilled.
I love my job.
But
I have
so
had
good.
many jobs I don't love. But I mean, if I wanted to go full-time content creation, I could have done that 2 years ago, right?
Of course.
But making video games is really cool, turns out. And I'm very fulfilled. And it's like,
That's so great.
wonderful. It's managing the time sucks, but
That was like
love
going
my
to be my main question for you because like how...
yeah. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
It's very related to this podcast, actually. Like I realized a pretty long time ago that if I'm not being productive, so I had depression once and it was a response to a traumatic thing that happened and it was like pretty bad. And then the fix was I realized if I work all the time and I'm constantly feeling productive, I won't get depressed.
Right.
And then I just got stuck in a loop of like, I must be productive at all
Right.
times, which is not healthy.
The shark dies if it stops swimming.
Pretty much. I would not recommend anybody do it. And it's
Right.
not a great fix for depression, but it does work for me. So I
Yeah.
just then became like obsessively productive. So like I can't even watch TV. I feel bad if I'm like, well, I'm not doing good
That's
work.
relatable. I'm sure that's relatable
I
to
just
a lot of
hope
people.
it stops eventually.
Yeah, I think
I mean, everything does.
Yeah, thank God.
Along with everything else, actually, will
Great.
stop.
I mean, in one of our episodes recently talked about how I was on the way to, this is back in my tech days, I was flying to Seattle to interview at Microsoft. And I was so nervous about the interview that I was like, well, if the plane goes down, I don't have to do the interview.
Technically not wrong.
Yeah, and I was
I
like,
win.
and that was comforting to me.
Jokes
and
on you, Microsoft.
I don't think, Bill, I don't
There's
think.
turbulence. You're like, I don't suppose we're going to die. Rats.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Hey, is there like a child next to you? Do you think this? might
Yeah,
be
I'm
a-
the only one celebrating turbulence. I'm like, yes.
Open
I'm
that
like
exit window,
hopping off.
Hey, kid, do you know about mortality?
No, but like I and it's like I don't want to make light of something like that, but anxiety's real. And
Yeah, so I do not have anxiety and
Yeah.
like a total absence of it to a weird degree where I'm not anxious ever about anything unless it's super extreme. But I have so
Right.
many friends who have anxiety.
yeah,
And I actually feel like that's part of it is anxiety, I think, is really bad for productivity. Right? Because then you get stuck in like
It
a
is.
brain loop of
Inaction.
like, what should I do next?
yes, absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of like, if we're talking about corporate employers and capitalism, a lot of people who don't have a lot of sympathy for that. Like if you don't have
True.
anxiety, you're like, I don't care. You're not
Yeah.
being productive to the workforce.
What?
Oh,
Including
yeah.
the back of your own brain.
there's a
Right.
there's a whole thing where it's like, how much can I share with my employer because you don't want to.
Yeah.
Like you
wanna
don't
scare
wanna
them off.
Yeah, you don't want to make them think that you can't do your job
Yeah.
because it can then become a risk depending on how
Yep.
understanding your boss is, which is just a complete
Yeah.
crapshoot.
And that took me a long time. Like I only this year, like while doing the boxing training for Creator Clash, which we were both in.
Yeah.
My stepdad was also very, very, very unwell. He's now doing significantly better, but he does have terminal cancer. And so because he's in Australia, the time zone, I was like up until 3 a.m. sometimes, like freaking out with my family on the phone. And so I, for the first time in my life, was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell my employer. I'm going to tell them this is happening and tell them I'm stressed out and be like, hey, some days I'm going to be really bad in the morning, or maybe I'll sleep through an alarm occasionally. And it happened twice. But because I told them, there was no problem. Where I think younger me would have been like, they must never know. I must get fired and take it to the grave for the company.
I would much rather they think I'm bad and dumb.
That's character development.
I felt very proud of myself.
Yeah.
And it went well, and everyone was really supportive and understanding. And it's like, as long as I got my work done on time, they were like, it's okay. Life happens. We don't want to take life away from you. Like, it was great.
Which they're also like, they're obliged to not be that way. It depends on the power dynamic and like seniority and type of company.
Right.
But there's, you know, what could their answer be, legally speaking? Even in the most cynical scenario, let's say you hated the job and you hated the manager, for you to go like, yeah, I'm actually having an extremely traumatic personal experience, and as a result, I may be less effective. They go, no.
Yeah.
You will not.
Wrong.
That doesn't change our Q3 goals.
Yeah. Then what about the quarterly earnings?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
What do we do?
We need to keep these graphs up and to the right, baby.
yeah,
What
and
is our
it's-
job? We're
like, so much of that stuff, like so many corporations will treat you like the thing you're working on right now is the most important thing in the world, and then 2 months later they're like, we've changed strategy, and so you work your ass off on something, and then it means
some
fucking
other
nothing 2 months later.
essential domino never with the first one never
100%.
fell.
Everything is always on fire.
Right. It's one of those things where it's useful to keep this in mind as an employee of a company, that the company will ask everything of you or ask as much of it as it can get away with, and it
And still lay you off.
and still lay you off. Like at the end of the day, they're not like don't treat like you don't owe them anything, even though they like sometimes treat it like I've worked at companies where they're like, they do the like, we're a family here thing.
Nope.
Which is a big red flag. Or
What a weird family.
they just like, we're gonna have to work really hard. We're gonna have to.
You know when your family refuses to help you financially?
Yeah.
It just
That's
disappears.
what I'm saying, Dad.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, exactly. It's like, we're family. We have laid off the entire team.
Yeah.
We killed half of the family.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, why? Well, your brother was doing poorly.
Yeah, it's like an
He
all
had a traumatic experience.
an all hands meeting, but it's a family reunion where
Well,
you
it's
just
not-
lay off half the family.
It's a family, but it doesn't have nepotism.
Yeah.
You don't get any benefit from being related.
That's also a thing, is like, this definitely happened when I worked at IGN. Again, the company I work for now, I'm so happy with. They treat me so well. But people would work really hard to try and get a promotion for a job they knew was about to be available, and then they just hire some guy. Like the execs would hire some guy they worked with 20 years ago, and no one would get promoted. Like, it's such a tough balance that like so many people burn themselves out in their early 20s, and I totally did too. Before you realize that it's like, yeah, still do your job, do everything on time, don't show
Right.
up late, don't give them your life. They
Yeah.
will just
Because
fire
they
you.
will take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, because if you
For
exactly.
free? Oh, yeah.
It's,
Shit.
there is a boundary that, you know, I sometimes struggle with this because I'm like, is it a privilege to treat it like there's a boundary? You know, some people need to,
Probably,
you know,
yeah. If I got fired, I could do content
right.
creation, right?
It's
So
like,
like,
you have
yes,
to like
there's
when
a privilege
I was,
there.
like at my last few months at Patreon, I kept saying this. I kept saying the phrase, what are they going to do? Fire me? Like, because I was like, I'm planning to leave.
Yeah.
And I gave so much notice ahead of time. And so anytime I would like get in my head about something or go, I need to do better at this, I need to do better at that, and was getting really down on myself, I would just go, what are they going to do? Fire me? Then I get severance. You know what I mean? Like, but so there is a degree to which that is a privilege to consider, but it's worth being aware of that, you know, we live and work in a system where your employer can never, as an entity, empathize with you.
Oh, and
They're incentivized not to.
They're incentivized not to.
Many,
It's a profit
many
motive.
industries at many levels of earning will like gladly turn you into biofuel and just like hire out, because in their opinion it is like unskilled labor and experience means nothing, intent, enthusiasm, that just doesn't matter, because it is like, you know, it's a trite like observation or whatever, like these friggin' the man is not on your side. But especially, actually, I'm curious about your experience. I was gone over COVID. I was back in the UK, so helping out my family stuff and not having a visa. And then once I came back, even though I love it here and it's where my life is and I always want it to be, the one really shitty thing that I noticed is like there's just this undercurrent. The UK sucks ideologically and politically. It's like it's been a conservative, very strictly conservative country now for like the majority of my life, with a little bit of on and off. The NHS is being gutted, nurses are being like essentially abused, everything is collapsing, but it still feels on some level like the goal or the function of the government is to sort of make your life easy and live well. They're lying, a lot of them, the powerful people, but they have to like, there'll be so much executive action on the part of the populace, like when like Boris Johnson didn't even need to get legally indicted. His vibes were just so off that he got pushed out. Like you can't be impolite. That's like the one thing you can't do.
That was weird. Because what did he like? He went to a party.
Yeah, he had a party when you're. That's the thing. He
and then
like
lied about it.
He's
Jesus
like
Christ.
a psycho racist abuser for generations.
But he speaks like this. So it's like I will keep him in power. He sounds smart.
But
I don't have a party.
But my face.
But then he used the cutlery inwards and to out, so we had him killed.
And his hair looks like it's a child's hair. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
notoriously,
it's a very specific man.
Yeah,
you got kid hair.
Yeah, it's like a mop. Indict him.
Raise him. He's a kid. No,
but if what you're saying is like, look, I have like a big sad about capitalism once a day. Like once a day, I have this crushing feeling of like, fuck. And I also, it bothers me that I'm so influenced by it, which I think is part of the productivity, is that I tie my value to my output. That's capitalism 101, and I'm a sucker for it. I'm clearly like, my value is in what work I can do. I shouldn't take it as a compliment that people are like, how do you get so much done? I should be like, I should probably reassess my life. But I'm like, it's true. I do that. It's capitalism. The US, especially when I go home, and I'm the same, it's like, we got plenty of governmental issues. But I don't feel like capitalism is running the country.
It doesn't.
And then you come here and you're like, they just want my fucking money. Oh my God, I need to make more money or I'm going to die.
Yeah. It feels like that manager, that like hypothetical manager we were talking about, who was just like, yeah, of course, hey buddy, we're like a family. But ultimately kind of not so much undermining you as not caring. That feels like global government, like the function of global people in power. The US feels like it's very vocally being like, I'm going to kill you. And it's like, well, but
and
what
monetize
if
it?
Yeah, what if I dodge?
It costs $60K to like have a kid here.
Have a baby, yeah.
Like,
you pay for an ambulance.
Yeah, when it was during COVID, I came off a motorbike and I had to call an ambulance because I couldn't move and I was fucked up. They came and they were like I had to recover for like months of my knee. My hands were cut open. They were like, you think you could bike home? And I was like, no. I like had a broken kneecap.
All your limbs have gone off.
Yeah. They were like, no. And they were like, listen, we're not going to take you to the hospital unless you really want it. Broken kneecap, came off a fucking motorbike. Because A, it's COVID, the hospitals are too overrun. B, they'll just charge you and then tell you to do the same thing we're telling you to do right now, which is go home, raise your leg, put ice on it, and then wrap it. So they were like, don't use the healthcare system that you pay for with insurance every month. Just find someone to take you home. And so that's what I did. And I was like, wow, at least they were nice about it because it can cost you like $5,000.
Yeah. Literally every good medical professional in this country is just like, they're giving you like mates rates. It's like, hey dude, just come a little bit later.
We were just talking about this. I had this surgery to get rid of migraines, which worked. It was amazing. And I got a staph infection from one of the incisions. It's very small and I now have this huge scar. And I kept being like, hey, there's clearly something wrong with this thing that I have in my head. It was like this huge gaping hole. It was like weeping.
Yeah.
And they were like, seems fine. Change bandages.
It looks like something out of Elden Ring.
Just change.
It's like Kaled version of Alanah.
They're like, just change a bandage. And I found out the reason for that was because I went to an urgent care and I was like, they've told me 3 times that I'm fine. I kind of feel like I'm maybe not fine. I was getting a fever. And the nurse was like, if they admit that they gave you staph, which they probably did, they may have to shut down. So they're seeing me knowing I have a serious infection and are pretending that I don't and hoping I go to an urgent care.
That's crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
That's crazy.
I feel like you
like,
left a scalpel in my head because it's sticking out.
No, I don't think so. You should go to an urgent care. Get a second opinion.
Alana, you are the most bloodied person I know. I feel like
You have
more
high
than anyone
con.
else, I've seen more of your blood than I have most of my. And that's because of the incisions that I've made personally. No, but
You just keep beating.
Sorry about the staph infection.
no, but you also got into a car accident recently.
Yeah, it didn't bleed though.
And it wasn't your fault.
Didn't bleed.
But before we get into that, let's talk about today's sponsor, Babbel.
Did you know that only 22% of Americans speak a second language other than English?
Pero nosotros hablamos español en casa.
That's not true. And I only understand what you said because of our sponsor today, Babbel.
Babbel is an app built to help you learn a new language in as little as 3 weeks.
Instead of paying hundreds of dollars for a private tutor, you should actually use Babbel because you learn with straightforward conversation-based learning.
I took a lot of Spanish in high school, and I'm still very bad at it. So Babbel is helping me knock the rust off and become an expert, better than a novice in Spanish. I'm baby steps. Here is a special limited time offer to get our listeners, just our listeners, started on Babbel right now.
Get 55% off of Babbel at babbel.com/sad.
That's spelled BABBEL.com/sad.
SAD.
Rules and restrictions may apply. Thank you to Babbel for sponsoring this video.
Now back to Boyz. We have to go.
Like, you also got into a car accident recently.
Yeah, it didn't bleed though.
And it wasn't your fault.
Didn't bleed.
And I feel like it's never your fault. You did everything right and they indicted you.
You know what? Yeah. I didn't do anything wrong in any of those instances.
You did everything right and they infected you.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
car accident, my only thing is, so I got hit by a dude and I didn't even see where he came from, right? I didn't even know where he came from. So when
Right.
people are like, what happened? I'm like, I got hit and I don't know where the man came from. My thing there is, it wasn't my fault, but I should have looked every direction possible. I should have looked, even though the dude ran a red, I should have looked. And I regret that I was like, I got comfortable or whatever, which apparently is like the most common place you get in car accidents is near a place you're familiar with. I was right next to work.
Right.
So
Trusting other drivers to...
yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're at a green and they're at a red. Just look every direction every time, especially in LA. Like,
in LA, drivers do so much bullshit. And I have developed a new type of road rage where I just go, you're breaking the rules. I go, that's not allowed. You're not supposed.
Me thinks you're not allowed to do that.
how nerdy that is, sir. You're breaking the rules.
It's because I got my driver's license 2 years ago. So
Oh, no way.
So all of the rules are still fresh in my
Yeah.
noggin. And the way that I feel the need to express out loud, I'm like, you're endangering others.
That's
like-
so sweet of you.
No, but so the times I've honked, it's like when someone doesn't signal, crosses over 3 lanes of traffic, I'm like, you're lucky I'm driving defensively. You know what I mean? Like, because it really...
It is infuriating to watch people have disregard for other people's safety.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I have friends that have pulled a good number of, hey, I live 5 minutes away. I've had 4 drinks.
I have
my
one friend who does
God.
that, and we talk about it all the fucking
How about
time.
you walk for 20 minutes? Like,
That
I
stresses
will
me
get
out.
you the Uber.
Yeah.
I have one beer, and I'm like, I can't drive.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
a $6 service that will take you home, and your car, I don't know if you parked it in the bar.
I don't
what's
fucking
wrong
care
with
if it gets towed. It's your life that's
Yeah,
on the
and
line.
other
It's the lives of
people.
someone
others.
else's life,
Exactly
yeah.
the thing.
I'm like, yeah, and like even in the most selfish, have some self-preservation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, and then not to mention that there's other people.
I mean, literally, I
infuriating.
think if a crash or any kind of like even hitting someone did not damage your own car, people, lights wouldn't matter. They would fly through. It'd be like F-Zero. They would just like...
My other new type of road rage was I was in a small parking garage, and someone in this like mega XL Escalade, giant fucking car that's like super tall and super wide and doesn't fit in a lane. I was like leaving the parking garage, and they were turning into it, but they needed more clearance from my lane to turn their giant fucking car.
Car too big.
Car too big. And they honked at me. And then the indignity that I got was, your car's too big to be on the road.
Yeah.
Your car shouldn't exist. It doesn't exist in other
So you're
countries.
endangering people.
Yeah. Well, it endangers pedestrians because You're safer at the expense of others.
I love this version of road rage.
I don't. But I
you're
wasn't
allowed
even
to do
mad.
that.
I was mad that they honked at me without the
Honking's very aggressive.
Yeah. Another rant I have, I'll give after this is. But yeah, like. And then the other thing is, on principle, I don't think cars should be that big. But yeah, I want back honking.
Yeah.
So I want a honk from the back that goes, I hear you.
Yeah.
Like someone goes, the light changed, honk, and it's like
A polite one.
yeah, no, I got it, but there's a pedestrian.
Yeah.
But I can't go right now, and you can't see it.
Yeah.
The
You can't
lighter
see it right
version
now.
of a honk
Yeah.
shouldn't be a short honk.
Yeah.
They'd be like, that's where they have like an emergency and a non-emergency services
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be like, hey!
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
a really
I-
quick
to be like
It's
a
like we're
hop
teaching
sound.
Dipper to whisper and to bark,
Yeah.
right? He needs two modes.
Where's the whisper?
Yeah. He can't just
saw-
go, hey!
Which you keep trying to tell him.
Yeah.
I saw it recently. This happens all the time, and I always freak out about it because there's so many lanes in LA where I always worry that two people are going to merge into each other. Like from the outside lanes, merge into the middle lane together. And it actually happened recently. Cars merged into each other and hit each other and then stopped. And they weren't moving very fast, but immediately the guy who was on the right side got out of his car with a fucking baseball bat.
Respect.
What? Zero
Fuck
hesitation. Immediately baseball bat out of his car. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening.
Is it racist of me to assume he was Italian? I saw like a low jersey just like, hey, what the fuck are you fucking
Why you hit my
doing?
car?
Yeah.
Come on. No, he was not Italian, but it was very exciting.
He was Australian.
That
You hit my fucking car, mate.
that
Danya.
happened.
I own one of the 5 cars in Australia.
They're all Mad Max vehicles.
Yeah. A guy in a gimp suit suspended on
A
metal
dude
legs.
on the back swaying.
That almost happened to me where I mean, in my view, I was in the right, and they, once again, it's people who don't signal. Signaling should be muscle memory.
Do it every time.
I'm so
Do it every
off.
time. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, every time.
So when people aren't signaling, I'm like, this is normal for you.
I love this,
You
Jarvis.
just drive like this all
I'm
the
such
time.
a fan of like politely angry road rage Jarvis.
You know what it
so
is?
good.
I'm such a fucking rule follower, and I hate it. And I've always, like, my whole life, I've been mad that on principle, I want to follow all the rules and be successful.
Yeah.
And even the rules are like decorum, like be nice to people, right? And so it's not just like the laws, because that's, I think that we live in a police state, but
ACAB, et cetera.
but it's like when people are like, they're breaking, it's like uncool. Like when it's like a dick move, I'm like, you shouldn't. Karma should exist. Immediate karma should exist.
I literally did my Uber Eats got stolen a few days ago within 15 minutes of being left outside. The moment a perfectly acceptable risk happens to me, an inconvenience to the I got refunded, I got another order thing. The moment something like that happens to me, I turn into a conservative psychopath. I just go like, we should have everyone microchipped.
They should all be jailed.
I want to live in Mega City 1. I'm like, everyone, death penalty only. Cameras in
You
the
didn't get
eyes.
your samosas.
Right. Your avocado toast was late.
CCTV on every building in every direction.
I respect it. Well,
but-
no, I don't. But
Yeah.
but I get it.
And literally just looking up, how easy to get gun today.
Can I murder somebody who stole my Uber Eats legally?
Murdering allowed in this instance? Yeah. The defense was you offended my sensibilities.
My Mackie D's.
But was being a rule follower an issue for you in school?
I was awarded Student of the Year
By the students?
Citizen of the Year by my school.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I have it in. There's a hold on.
So you were not bullied for it?
When people, okay, this is why I learned to be funny, because people would bully me and then I would use humor to insult them back. Like I remember
not crying.
someone,
That is funny.
like for example, I used to get made fun of for being smart, which weird insult, but I'll take the compliment. And I don't know if I've told this on Tabloids before. One time there was this dude, let's name him Broderick. That's not his name, so
That's a weird
Matthew.
poll, but I like it.
I know I wanted to pick something weird because he does have a unique name.
Okay.
So I like chose a different one.
What is it?
Can't I?
Oh, sorry. Right.
So I remember he used to make fun of me for being smart, as people did, I guess. And
which what do they mean is a nerd?
Yeah, I'm a nerd. And he also was somebody who I remember ate chalk. And so in high school, I ran into him, and he was like, "Hey, Jarvis, you still smart?" And I was like, "Hey," I almost said his real name. And I was like, "Hey, Broderick, you still eat chalk?" You know, like that type of thing. Or there was like a football player who went on to play with the Miami Dolphins, who would make fun of me. But I was always a big kid, and I always felt like I could defend myself. So I never got into any physical. I wasn't like scrawny, so I think that helped. I couldn't be stuffed into a locker or a trash can. But I was annoyed. I was too much of a like nice kid TM.
Yeah.
Did you have the same like gotta achieve in school, or is that a post-US thing only?
I cared about the subjects. So I'm not a rule follower at all. Like I cared about the,
Hell yeah.
I have to be careful with the coffee. It's like, don't spill the coffee.
Give me the coffee.
I got like straight A's, except for the subjects I didn't care about. And if I didn't care, I didn't care. But I like didn't go to school. So like I was always very good at English. I always knew I wanted to be a writer. And so I would do the bare minimum and still get an A and then be like, I don't need to go to school. So towards like the end of my grade 12, as we call it in Australia, I just didn't show up. That pissed people off. Other students were upset about that because they were like, she's still getting A's and she doesn't even fucking show up.
What's the college culture? Is it the same? I mean, UK, it's whatever. US, obliged if you want to be air quote successful. Because you have to go to college if you want a real life.
Yeah, so it's...
Which is dumb.
Probably in the middle. Like, they have, seminars about how we should go to university. And I did go to university. But like... Yeah, I think it's not the way it is in the US, which of course it is in the US because it's so profitable. They need to get you in debt immediately. Sure. It's free in Australia. So they don't have to push that hard because they're not trying to get 20-year-olds in debt. This country.
It's a crazy...
I love being here weirdly.
It's so good.
It was a really... It shouldn't have worked out for me. I think it's an insane decision to put yourself in. Well, I had scholarships and stuff, so I was fortunate. But it's crazy.
What did you study?
Computer science.
I did. Who am I? Type.
It's Jarvis.
1, 2, 3.
You broke a rule.
Shut the fuck up.
I think what the good thing, I think the breaking like rule follower thing, instead of turning me into a cop, which I think it could have if I like.
I have a friend who's a cop. Like she's not an actual cop, but she's a cop.
If I like respected authority too much, it would turn me into a cop. But in like what it's turned me into is like I'm like, oh, the government's not following the rules. It's like you should be good to people. And no, or these companies are bad.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're not being very nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what it's like turned into.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like saying it to a bank robber. It's like, you're not allowed to point a gun at me. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
No, but that's a tough moral dilemma. It's like, do I care that you're robbing Chase Bank?
Oh, no.
Right. No, exactly.
I care about all the people who are being hard done by.
Me getting shot.
Like I think I care more about the nuance. Like I totally understand. While I personally wouldn't make certain decisions, like I totally can understand where people are coming from when it comes to like your back's against the wall.
I mean, the people who like steal a loaf of bread to feed their families. I don't give a
exactly.
Oh yeah,
Shut up.
I don't.
Walgreens.
Theft is barely a crime.
Yeah.
It, like literally shouldn't. It should be
unless
enforced.
it's your porch and it's avocado toast.
Yeah, okay,
in which case, kill them.
Okay, so first of all, it wasn't avocado. It was loaded fries. So what you're saying is
fries.
If it was avocado toast, yeah, of course I'd kill them. I would do the exact same thing. No, I mean there is a. I think
theft
like
for survival,
corporate theft
barely
should be,
a crime.
Yeah.
It should be less pushed back against than like seatbelts, which should be more enforced, and signaling and not killing with a car.
Yeah, things are out of whack. The punishment doesn't fit the crime, like marijuana and stuff like that.
People are still in prison.
It's insane.
Again, it all comes back to capitalism. The prison industrial complex makes so much money. This country makes me feel insane.
The US is so good at culture war shit.
Yeah, even the history of like why certain drugs are criminalized the way they are is like super like profit motive driven.
And it's because the threat of hemp as a material.
Yeah, I mean, I think they even delayed legalizing weed for as long as they did just because they didn't know how to tax it. They were like, but people already have it. Yeah. How are we going to make money from it? Get rid of it.
Yeah, it's like people that like when you see a horrible terms of service update, well, like Unity, for example, when you make like a horrible terms of service update and it just fucks over your core customer base, and not for a moment did you think like, wait, no, sorry, there's users of this.
Yeah.
And that is why it could work the way it is or the way they're suggesting.
Well, okay, can we talk about the Unity thing? I feel like we have someone who works in the games industry here. So for those who aren't familiar, Unity is a game engine. It's a very popular game engine. It's been around for a very long time, and it's got tons of resources. And for people who are getting into games, going to game jams, things like that, it's like one of the things you start with. A lot of people have. It's like I went to school with a lot of people who went into games from the technical side. And I saw tons of Unity usage even back when I was in college.
Anybody listening or watching has a game they love that was built in Unity.
Absolutely,
if not many.
Yeah. Pokemon Go's in Unity.
Hollow Knight.
So
is a big part of the drama, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, it's why it's actually how it first got on my radar.
What's happening to Pokemon Go?
No, literally.
Is this man bothering you?
And so you're not following the rules. So Unity wasn't following the rules so they have a license as of most of time. They had a license where
as of most of time is a great way to be like as of most of time.
Their license, the way that they made money was with revenue share, right?
Yep.
So when indie games or AAA games or what have you would use their license,
I think they didn't even. That's what they should have done. Unreal has
that's what they should have done.
Yeah,
they
Unreal had a 5% revenue share, and then Unity, I think, did a flat fee.
Yeah,
and
maybe a revenue share for the
They
top
also
one?
share a portion of the.
I think you're right.
The assets sold on the Unity store. I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
which is a lot.
Yeah.
And so what matters is that it was somewhat sensible, and thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of games were invested in, spent years of development on.
Yeah, but also non-sustainable. Like their business model across the board needed to change. Not ultimately sustainable. They also had this really weird thing that's the opposite of Unreal, where you could pay.
That's Unreal Engine, not like a phrase. The opposite of Unreal, which is kind of a metal thing to say.
The opposite of Unreal.
The opposite of Unreal.
Unity had this really strange thing where if you were getting the free version, the game will load up and have the Unity logo at the start. But if you paid, you could remove the Unity logo from the start.
Like white labeling or whatever.
Yeah, but it's weird because it made people think that Unity made really bad games. Because the only ones that have the Unity logo show up are all the ones that didn't pay for
Unity.
it. Yeah, and they're all just like pieces of shit.
That's hilarious.
It's a weird choice. Unreal does the opposite.
It's so funny because I know so many games that I love that were built in Unity. And when that props up, it makes me think it's like an Ouya game.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. Or like, this is an asset flip.
It's a really weird choice. Like their system needed to change, but what they did
but so their
not
system
ideal.
needed to change, but that's not a concern of any of the users or the customers. You know what I mean? Like when I go to eat at McDonald's, I don't think about the like profit net loss of like McDonald's and whether or not their business
These
model
nuggets
is
should be more
sustainable.
expensive.
Yeah, I'm like the dollar menu. I don't think that'll stand the test of time. So what they proposed, they announced recently that January 1st, 2024, which is like 3 months of heads up, they were going to change the entire revenue model of the Unity game engine and make it on a per download basis.
Per install, yeah.
Per install. Oh yeah. So it was per install and not per user account, or as they originally wrote it. So it would be like if you downloaded Pokemon Go on your phone and on your iPad, that would be 2 times that Niantic got charged for it.
Yeah, 20 cents per install. Which, like, one of the worst things about that it seems insane that they didn't factor in, and I think they've walked it back a little bit now, is you know how people do review bombing?
Yes.
Like they just go on Metacritic?
Yes.
You could install bomb and bankrupt a company in a day.
Yes, exactly. Like these are such basic considerations.
Yeah.
Going back to what you're saying, where everyone was like, what in the world were you thinking? Like how did you possibly, and then you find out, #capitalism, a lot of the main stakeholders in Unity and a lot of the main leadership in Unity Unity wasn't doing well, unsustainable business model. Stock was on the downturn. Before they make this crazy change, they sell off a bunch of stock.
A bunch of them had sold a bunch of stock.
Yeah.
What's the name of the former EA guy? that is now
He is Unity. I don't know his name actually,
it.
but yeah, he like basically left EA because his monetization strategies were too aggressive and is now at Unity.
So too aggressive for EA.
Yeah,
That's just hilarious.
I think it seems so insane, and it's like there are a bunch of engineers at Unity who definitely didn't agree with this policy.
Yes.
Who had heard about it a year ago and were like, absolutely not, this is absurd. We can't do this to people. Like, there are so many bad use cases. But it seems like whoever was in charge kind of did it on the sly, and I actually suspect it's Pokemon Go. Like, literally Pokemon Go. The only time when I was a journalist that I had to sign something about insider trading was when I went to Niantic and I saw Pokemon Go early. We had to sign something saying we would not buy stocks in Nintendo because they fucking knew how much money it was going to make.
Yeah.
So we had to sign a thing being like, not going to buy Nintendo stocks. And I was like, shit, no, I really want to buy Nintendo stocks.
Yeah.
Was there
It's
any
a really good idea.
insider industry murmuring prior? Because it took
Nope.
every dev by huge.
No one had
surprise.
any idea. And like, I like do a podcast every week with a guy who all his games are in Unity and like they're being published by Disney at the moment. And it's like, well, technically
Mikey.
Disney's problem. Yeah.
Mikey Beth,
Yes, he
Sad Boys
watches
listener.
the show actually. Yeah. Yeah. He was like, I heard
shout
about you
out.
on the show the other day. And I was like, really? Yeah. How did that happen?
Why?
So basically,
Yeah, don't listen to that one. We said
this
some shit.
bombshell news comes out. Everyone goes, this is a bad idea. How could you possibly think? It's even announcing the idea because now most of it's been walked back.
Yes.
Like,
They movie passed
But
themselves.
again, I think they just looked at Pokemon Go and were like, Niantic,
we need
they're
more
making
of
so
that
much
money.
fucking money.
Yeah.
How do we get
Because
that
Pokemon Go
goddamn money?
still, like we've said this before, I don't know if these numbers are accurate, but I did hear them cited before that back in 2016, there were like 250 million like users of Pokemon Go at its peak, and then it fell off by a huge percentage. But falling off by a huge percentage when you're that big still means tens of millions
that's okay.
of active
We can handle
users.
that.
Yeah, and so it's still hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, if not billions. But I think it's like in the high hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
I'm buying somewhere around that in just coins. Probably
Yeah,
spending
that's
that.
like my amount of microtransactions.
I want to remote.
Gotta get those
read.
lures, bro.
Dude, I'm all about the eggs.
Yeah.
Egg mode, because they just had, okay, we're going back to Unity, but they
Sure
just
we
had an
are.
event. They just had an event where it was for 10 days, 4x catch XP, 4x Stardust, which is normally for like a community day, which is like the premier outside of GoFest, the premier type of Pokemon Go event that happens regularly. It's 3x catch XP, 3x Stardust, and it happens for 3 hours on a Saturday. This was more than that for 10 days.
That's crazy.
I played so goddamn much. And I grinded. And so I have people in my Discord who are now like, I played this game for 6 years. How did you get higher level than me? And it's like, because I saw my opening and I took it.
Oh,
Optimize those 10 days.
Yeah, exactly.
speaking of that, like, not only are you now working in game dev, but historically up through now, you're also doing so much content creation and career-oriented stuff around game play and critique and podcasts. Are you able to spend any time gaming leisurely, exclusively for fun?
I mean, I still make sure I do because I still way prefer playing games off stream versus on stream. So like often I'll be like, I should probably stream this. And I'm like, nah.
You said that you hate your fans, you don't respect the audience.
That's exactly what I said. I pulled a Doja Cat. Yeah. Fuck them.
Actually, unfollow. It was
You liked Ragnarok? I was kidding.
Speaking of that Doja Cat thing, though, it reminded me of how Twitter isn't real, because if you were on Twitter, you would have been like, Doja Cat just destroyed her career.
Oh.
There's no way she's coming back from this. And then she puts out a new single, #1 on Billboard.
Yeah.
I have to like have that conversation with Rahul all the time where I can be like, people said this on Twitter. I'm like, how many people?
Yeah.
Was it one guy?
You won't believe
Was
how
it
many
just one
people
guy?
Yeah.
They're saying something on Twitter.
But even
He's
for
here in the room.
Doja Cat, it was like her people who run her fan pages, and they were like, "We are your community," and Doja Cat was like, "Fuck you," and then
It doesn't mean
it's
shit.
Like, it's wild.
Most people don't know who Doja Cat is, and they listen to
That's
her.
the thing
Yeah.
with video games all the time is like that I try to stress to people so often is like when The Last of Us Part 2 leaks came out, everyone was like, this game's not going to fucking sell. This is the worst thing to ever happen. And I was like, I promise you, vast majority of people who own PlayStations don't even know what Naughty Dog is. They don't fucking know what video game leaks are.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no, they do. That's ridiculous. If I walked up to majority of PlayStation owners on the street and was like, do you know what Santa Monica Studio is? They'd be like, was somewhere near Venice Beach. Like
Yeah.
they would have
the
absolutely
pier?
no idea. Gaming is so much bigger
Yeah.
than like the tiny little sliver of console wars. And the same thing applies to like literally any internet drama.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
my god,
it's
yeah.
so small, and you can think it's so big by giving someone so much weight for everything they say, and you're like, doesn't mean shit.
I mean, it's like the shit at like every single time someone gets, because it's almost like quality, not quantity.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, this person did slip up, and all these people did call their work and did swat them and all that, and you're like, wow, that's really, really severe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. 6 people killed Osama.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's 6.
It
It's SEAL Team 6.
is weird
And a
how that
dog.
happens. It's like someone will like make a bad joke while they're on an airplane, and then they get off the airplane, and then the next thing you hear is like, guy who made airplane joke burned at the stake. And it was like, what? Like, is that really what we needed to do? Did we all need to this random civilian, we had to like dox them and like into their whole bloodline
Immediately.
Yeah.
I wonder if that'll
it's not
happen
great.
to Dr. Shit or whatever. You saw that, right? The guy that
Oh.
diarrheaed through the aisle of a plane.
yeah.
Devastating. It made me think of school. Like, it made me think of the embarrassing shit I would do as a kid that I'm still holding on to.
Because every time you shout
you're
at
still
the
holding
plane.
on to your embarrassing shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was one
Every
of the
time he
most
gets on a plane.
embarrassing. That might be the most embarrassing shit like, today. But
That
like,
is bad.
you just have a memory. You're having like a shower memory. You're like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
Got a couple of those.
You did it like on the way back from a
Because
conference.
it's not his fault.
I know.
Like, he should have maybe just stayed still. But
Yeah.
like, it's not, we can't be mad at that guy.
No, but it's just so like they're probably feeling way worse about it than
Oh my God,
we
of
can even
course.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what, buddy? You shot yourself on a plane and then
Yeah.
landed and made international news.
We've just never had it
It
happen.
could be worse.
Yeah.
And having to tell the other people that like he's going to like a wedding in Barcelona, and they're like, "Where's Jonathan late?" He's like, "Oh, the plane."
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
happened
it.
with
Oh, the plane was diverted, just
was
like
it?
my
Oh,
bowels.
man. So
One of the
rough.
wings fell off, I think.
Yeah. The Unity thing, though, is big news. Like, that is a huge deal
yeah.
because basically, like, every dev who's currently on Unity is at risk of their company literally shutting down. It de-incentivizes success. The more downloads you have, the worse off you are, because I think it's a cap of, it starts at 200,000. They start charging 20 cents an install. It's also, as far as I'm aware, illegal. There currently is no real way for game devs to track installs. That's why they know sales. They usually don't know installs. So if Unity somehow has this technology for the first time of any company ever where they know what people are installing and when.
Right, because they said it's like they have some proprietary way of telling.
If you do, it's not going to pass UK law. There's
No.
no way. Like, they're so pro-consumer. There's just absolutely no way.
Yeah,
It'll
I
be
mean,
outlawed
Apple had to
immediately.
put USB-C ports
Exactly.
in
And
iPhones.
we're
Like, if they
yes!
can, if they can get Apple to do stuff, then
There's no
Unity's got
fucking
no
way.
chance.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's honestly awesome.
That was one of mine.
Oh, you did that?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Come on, David Cameron. He's like, I've not been prime minister for so many years.
But the other part of that is if they actually have that tech, I can't imagine them not just using it and selling it.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
that's
Like
information
enterprise,
everyone would
yeah,
want.
just pivot.
that would be a viable product.
Yeah.
That'd be a
Yeah.
thing that
People would
made
be like,
money.
we can get that information now?
Would
You
already
have
make
that? Okay.
It is
so
it's
weird.
It's an
truly
iPhone.
like a baby's idea. Just like, we'll do it per download. It'd be like the thing where we have no data.
It doesn't stand up to one follow-up question.
Yeah, I'm never okay with, like, even with Elon Musk, with assuming billionaires are just that stupid.
Right.
It doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
can't be, right? Not that stupid.
Yeah. I think I'm like, okay, well, where does the real motivation come from? And it's like greed.
Well, I was partly like, what if they put out the worst possible terms so they can walk the terms back and be like, oh, they listened, but they're still bad terms.
But
Yeah.
like that should be, hey, you're grounded for a year, back to, hey, you're grounded for 6 months.
It's-
And instead it was like, you're grounded in the ground 6 feet under, I've killed you.
It's a tough one because, like, Unity is the one that most people learn in school, right?
Yeah.
Like, so many devs know Unity and it makes you employable, and learning a new engine is actually very hard.
Yeah.
Like, you should ideally know more than one, but it's really not that simple. So
Right.
like,
Especially if you're making a game.
yeah, you can't just change your engine. That's extremely difficult,
Yeah.
like, or a lot more difficult than people think. So
Yes.
it's like, you can't just, like, they can be like, we're changing this, and a whole bunch of people's entire resumes are screwed.
It's like what's the term? Extortion. Yeah.
What's
Because-
that term?
Yeah, they don't have an option. But
I don't think they really accounted for just how, in a good way, spiteful the industry can be.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not even coming back if you walk this back.
Yeah,
Well-
they shouldn't, because now you can't trust them. Like, I don't know what they do.
like a Pokemon Go YouTuber do like a
Oh,
doomer
you really?
Yeah.
You?
Yep, I did it just once. And it was like a doomer take about the Unity news. And my immediate thought was, upon hearing it, I was like, if this goes through, it will end Unity. There's no shot. Like, and so then they started walking things back. Like, as of that video coming out, it was already like, I was like watching like Steven Totillo's Twitter. Yeah. And it was just like, update Unity's clarified terms. Update Unity now.
But
says
even
this.
all their clarifications are dog shit. Like, so far, I mean, it might be different now because the last statement they released, I think, was Monday night. Yeah. When this goes up, it might have changed. But they were just like, we're listening. Yeah. We heard that you're upset. You seem confused.
You seem confused about our terms.
You guys are a bit confused.
Sorry, honey, you're being hysterical.
Yeah. Oh, baby, come on.
Yeah, I think that they will probably have to walk the whole thing back. Yeah. But they're in a position now where nobody can trust them. But at the same time, what do they care about trust that much when everyone, like I said, their resumes are valued by Unity experience? It's a really like shitty situation.
That this could be, you know, it's kind of crazy to fumble so hard because this could be the inflection point, right? Yeah. Where you have all of these people who are bought into Unity and kind of have to continue using it, but people who are students, like technology does shift fast. And
Unreal looking very good right now.
Exactly, yeah. That's the thing.
Right, dude, right as the new Unreal is picking up momentum.
It's like everyone's losing their mind.
Someone's like the CEO secretly. This is all like, okay.
I'm paid off by Unreal.
I want to go back to your like, I don't want to think billionaires are this dumb because I know exactly what you mean and I totally agree to an extent, but there is a slippery slope. Yeah. Because the other end of that spectrum is like Elon Musk shuts his dick in a door and someone goes, masterful gambit.
Right. I love that tweet. It's tough. Like the Elon Musk one is like also extra tough because it's like, how do you keep making so many terrible decisions for this app?
Mm-hmm. Well, that setup in particular, doesn't that just feel like...
It feels like he's trying to sink it. I can't explain it any other way.
Yeah. It just smells like a bad manager. Like, that's the most relatable one to date is Elon Musk just being like, I came up with an idea. I clearly pushed the team and the rollout to happen too soon. We didn't A/B test it. And it was done for my pride. I'm sure all did.
But like getting rid of quote tweets, there's just too many of them in a row that everyone's like, maybe not a genius. Did I ever tell you? I might have told you that he used to send me memes.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But they were funny as fuck, right?
They were like really good memes. He like stole them from a 14-year-old.
There were a lot of owl memes.
What?
And then, like owls. And then when Elden Ring came out, I got a few Elden Ring memes.
God, that's recent.
Did you see that? There's an article or whatever.
Was he CEO when Elden Ring came out?
No, he was. It was like when it started.
It was pre-Twitter because I the last message that I ever sent him, or the last time I messaged him back, I said GG because I didn't know how bad it would get. And then never spoke to him again.
There was an article that I think maybe it was a Grimes interview where she like explains that when Elden Ring came out, he like didn't want to work and just wanted to play Elden Ring all the time or something like that.
Did you see when he posted that
his build
and everybody
trash build
ripped him a new one.
His literal like
he was over incumbent.
Dude, he was playing a challenge run.
Yeah. He was running around heavy.
He was slow. He was doing the slow roll challenge.
That's what people didn't say. He was playing on a Guitar Hero controller.
Yeah, they didn't know. They don't know how good I am.
The something about that I was gonna say.
You like him?
No.
Yeah, you're a huge fan.
No. Oh, I was just gonna say that his stuff is not as surprising to me because you would always hear rumors. Like one of my roommates worked at Tesla back in like 2015 and stuff, and you would just hear things about him. And I think I started to become very sus of leaders who were like leading multiple companies at the same time. Like Jack Dorsey had Twitter and Square, and then he basically was like absent fathering Twitter because Square was making all the money and Twitter was and has been stagnant for the past decade. Like, yeah. And so
that's why the purchase doesn't even make sense. I don't think he wanted to buy it.
Well, he kind of backed himself into a corner with that, where he, at some point, he offered such a high price that there was like a fiduciary responsibility from like the board to like accept the thing, and then he tried to get out of it, but there was like $1 billion kill fee and the turn, like there's a lot of,
was it Virginia or Washington state law legally he was obliged to purchase it?
There was some situation where he like kind of screwed himself.
I feel like he
over,
didn't want it,
where he like legally had to, and then he was like, this was on purpose, and then everybody's like,
was it, bud?
Oh,
And then he brought in Linda
money.
Yaccarino and as the CEO, and
It's wild.
Yeah.
The whole
it's
thing
literally
is wild.
I don't know if this everybody relate to this, but it does feel like your drug dealer just won't leave.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's like sits there like, so what are we watching? Like, oh, like Breaking Bad, I guess.
yeah.
We
Oh my
all
God.
are doing that together.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's like, again, I find it hard to accept that somebody could just be that dumb. Like, I know the never attribute something to malice,
Sure.
which could be attributed to stupidity.
Yeah.
And I think that is correct in most cases. This one, I don't know how you become the richest man on
I
earth.
think
and
you have
also be
even
dumb.
less malice because you're a sociopath.
One thing that's important to know about Elon is he's super PR. Like, he's been trying to build this like billionaire playboy philanthropist image for
Yeah.
like many decades, and he doesn't actually have many actual achievements or inventions.
No,
to
he's
his
just
name.
bought stuff.
Yeah,
But
he's
he's
just-
bought a lot of good stuff. Except Twitter.
Yeah,
It was good when he bought it.
yeah. He like
we used to
retrofitted
be.
himself into like a founder of Tesla, but then a lot of it's got government
Even
subs-
PayPal.
Yeah, he
think-
was bought into PayPal
Yeah.
because they bought X, which was a company that he had.
Yeah.
It's literally
Different
like
X.
it's like if he he's always pushing for Tony Stark aesthetics, and it's like if Tony Stark wasn't hot, charismatic, or made stuff,
Or Robert Downey Jr.
or
Yeah,
Iron
or
Man.
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah.
It's literally not Iron Man.
He's just
big
him at
part
the
of the job.
start when he's bombing people.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Jury's still out on that guy. I think maybe he's got he can bring it back with a few more memes.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
steal some more memes, bro.
Like if he steals some memes, he sends them to you.
Yeah.
You send them to us.
Yeah.
Then we broadcast them.
Yeah.
It's like a
Do you think if he sends you some bad luck Brian top text bottom text impact memes, it'll turn it all around?
That's the top tier.
What about
Yeah.
Velociraptor?
I think he might have sent a Velociraptor.
That rocks.
Yeah.
Well, he loves philosophy.
Apparently.
You
I
guys seen
think
that
there might
clip?
be one of those in there.
Have you guys seen that clip of Grimes saying that Ukraine and Russia should duke it out in Fortnite?
See, I like her.
Jamie, pull that up. Help us out, Jacob.
Oh, man.
oh my god.
I mean, that and the two of them each getting like matching Sword Art Online profile pictures are the two most endearing things either of them have ever done.
Yeah.
Because it truly, like, that's the only funny thing he's ever done.
Yeah, that's
Is-
up there.
I don't know, the sync.
That's it.
Yeah, the same was classic Elon.
Let that sink in.
And I remember seeing that and being like, "What? Why did something happen?" I wasn't like up to date.
Oh, my God.
And how long was he? Did he just leave that in the lobby?
And he fucking giggled, like thinking
Oh,
about
he
how-
giggled.
He was,
Oh,
he
did
was
he
masturbating,
giggle?
thinking about how funny everyone's going to find the sink. He's like,
He was like, I'm gonna get so many updates.
Thank you for the Reddit gold, stranger.
oh, God.
I'm remembering why we mentioned you on the podcast, by the way, and you might not even remember this. It was I don't know if I'll say what the thing was, but we meeting up with Eddie and Chrissy and a bunch of people for drinks a couple months ago, and I was just leaving as you arrived, sus, and I just. On the way, I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I just went like, "I remember." Methinks it's time to leave.
Oh, yeah, you did.
And you
Yeah.
looked physically repulsed,
Yeah, I wasn't
and I
happy about
remember
that.
laughing to myself about that.
Classic Elon moment.
And that was like you walked up and you were like, I was just in an accident.
Yeah.
You were like, what? And then you were
Yeah,
like,
it was that same day. Yeah.
look, and then it was like your destroyed car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And I was like, you seem to walk away from explosions. Like you're just
Yeah.
well, you didn't want to,
That
you
one,
didn't want to
I
have to pay for
That one, I mean, I
ambulance.
also like, I was so overworked at that point that I'm also like, again, I should have looked. It's on me. I had it coming.
well that
Something's
almost
going to happen fucking eventually.
that kind of feels like a little bit of the ambition flavoring. You know what I mean? Like
That's kind of what I said.
my
I was
merit,
like,
I failed.
again,
Yeah.
the dude still ran a red light as far as we know.
He's in the wrong in the eyes of the law.
But you can't have something like that happen and not be like, if I had done this differently.
Yeah,
I was
but
like,
it could have even been like, you could have looked at the wrong time. Like it's like there's things that could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
that are just like it's like a fluke rather than like a character flaw. you
Yeah.
know?
Hard not to think about it though.
True.
Well, is that like I guess yeah, that is kind of the feeling that manifests when you're disappointed in something or when you had an ambition that you couldn't meet, even if it was never possible in the first place? Like the goal was never reasonable?
True. I actually don't have a lot of that. Like I don't really struggle with feeling like I'm not like a failure. That doesn't happen very often. I just am always like, as long as I'm always doing something. The biggest problem I have is like, I don't know which thing to commit to.
True.
So I'm always like, which of these things obviously my job comes first, but then after that I'm like, maybe like I want to learn to play guitar, and I'm like, I should learn to play, but then I have to Twitch, but then I have to make a YouTube video, but then I need to play all these games, and I'm like none of them, like I know that's
I do think you find ways to relax though. To give you some credit,
I give myself a lot of travel, and that's when I don't
because I feel like you'll take a big relaxing trip somewhere.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that for the audience, like there's some balance here. It's not just all work. I think you're
it's
like
all
a work hard,
home.
play hard type.
Yeah, for sure. I try to at least. Like I work usually like 9 a.m. to like, I don't know, this week it's probably been like 9 a.m. to like 2 a.m. or so. And I always work weekends, but then like I'll go away for a full week and be like, I mean, I still have to do my day job, but I just completely stop YouTube and Twitch and I don't care, which is like also a thing that I think is important to bring up is I do think there's value in diversifying, especially if you're a content creator. Yeah. Like don't put all your eggs in one thing. Like especially all the shit that's happened to Twitter is like a lot of people feel like they've lost value there. You should always be like making sure you have different avenues for everything and like don't overwhelm yourself obviously. Yeah. But like if like I'm sure you have people who watch this who want to start doing YouTube or whatever. Sure. It's like also dabble in other things.
Well, it's like it's whatever you're aspiring to do, even if you're already doing it, but especially if you're about to start it, is not the thing you will end up doing. It's just not how it works. You if it were, then like you would take one class in everything.
That's true.
And just be like, hablo, I've got Spanish, all done.
Yeah, it's true. I recently was at Conan O'Brien podcast thing, and someone asked him a question that was like, who are your favorite and least favorite people to interview? And his favorites were like comedians like Norm Macdonald and like people like Will Ferrell, like people who bring a fun bit rather than just being an interview. He said his least favorite is always this like really particular type of person, which is just a young person who got very successful very young and has zero fucking life experience. Like nothing to talk about other than the acting and how hard it is. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, it was tough when I was 16 and my agent told me I had to dye my hair. And you're just like, holy fuck, you have nothing to share. Yeah. And like, I think that's such a big thing, even for writers. Like, if you have only ever been a writer, you don't have shit to talk about.
Right.
Like
you have
then
to
I
live
sat
a life
in my
worth
room.
Commenting on.
Like, what am I, Alan Wake? Like, you have to like.
I mean, he had some interesting life experience.
That's true. The shit that happened to his wife is like, no, he's writing about that forever. But like, the time that I worked at McDonald's and had to clean up kid vomit is like given me a perspective that I otherwise wouldn't have. Like you have to have done, I think it's the same for YouTube. You have to have done other things to have anything interesting to say. Right. Otherwise you're just so out of touch. So
I think plateaus, right? Like
that is
the life experience at the very start of something is the most, and then it very.
Yeah.
I started my YouTube channel when I was 26 and I think that was kind of like important for me because I've noticed this trend of a lot of people who start really young on YouTube and find initial success and then are like, this is my thing, tend to always gravitate towards the same types of videos. You know what I mean? Where it's like you have your morgues. I think of somebody who's like young, Australian, yeah, but
Sorry,
young.
No offense, but like maybe keep them in line.
Yeah, no, but your Morgs, your Brent Riveras,
yeah,
where it's like it's just kind of like this whole like there's a reason that all those kids started copying Mr. Beast. They're just like taking the Stokes twins or whatever. I don't
know who any of these people are.
I know, I literally, because it's like they all have a certain type, and a lot of it is let's just do the currently popular trend, because that's the only place we can go.
I mean, I've been doing the same thing on my gaming channel for 10 years, literally the exact same type of video, which is not super popular, and I know that it's not. It doesn't equate to a ton of growth. Same shit 10 fucking years, and I'm still like, I'm having a great time.
But that's important.
It's a different Alanah doing it over time.
That's true, and I have like way different perspectives now that I work in dev than I had when I started out, right? Like it's super different and it's evolved over time, but it's like, I think the only reason I've managed to sustain for 10 years is that I've been like, I don't care about the growth I really like talking about video games. And I think that's like also a thing that I always say to people who start.
And
I
it's
mean,
not
you're
your
a
whole life.
way more successful YouTuber than I am, but like, it's like people will tell if you're not interested in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to like what you're doing.
Right.
Otherwise you're going to hate it and they're going to be like, you fucking hate this. Like you have to be into the content you make.
But there is a challenge for, you know, when something that's like a hobby becomes a job, that it's like a jobby. Yeah. You have to like re-add the balance back to your life. And I think that's definitely something I struggled with. Because as soon as I went full time, the pandemic happened. Like the next year,
that's
I was
kind
like
of convenient, unfortunately.
Yeah, it took me extra long because I was coming off of like burnout from doing 2 jobs. Like I personally like couldn't really do it for that long. And like I did it for a year and I was like, okay, I've had enough. But then even when I had all the time in the world, I had none of the motivation. And it was like, I am also a person who like needs my schedule to be like packed. And that's when I'm like the most productive. So I had to find new things to fill my time with and also find a way to balance without like beating myself up about my productivity. Because I think I have that same like thing where I'm like productive means good, and I've been trying to untrain that because it's
hard, dude. Again, capitalism.
Yeah, and it's just no longer, you know, even to take a efficiency, like if you look at it from an efficiency standpoint, it's no longer efficient to like beat myself up about my productivity. I need to just rest, or I need to just put my focus elsewhere.
But
I will stop eventually. Like I will. I have to. I just spoke to a financial planner this week because I was like, listen, at a certain point, I'm going to have to stop working this hard. It's been too long and it's too many fucking hours. I need a plan for when that happens and I obviously start making less money.
Right.
And so he was like, yeah, you probably can't grind forever. I was like, no, please. Like, I don't even have an editor. Like, it's like, because I never trust anyone. Like, so I'm having to do everything myself. Like, oh God.
It's a very funny way of phrasing that.
Well, I've tried,
I don't
man.
trust
like,
anyone.
So I do have a podcast editor because I can't balance audio, and I love Jackie's great. But for my like own videos, everything I make, because it's like games media focused, has to be up immediately after I film it, which is like a really tough. I can't schedule stuff a week out. It has to be up as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But I also tried, and every time I get something back, I'm like, I just have to re-edit it. So what's the fucking point?
Let me tell you, it is tough, and I have been through that personally. And I never thought that I would be able to give away pieces of it. But I think one thing that's helped, well, one, I was like, editing is the most time consuming thing.
I really enjoy it though.
You doing this. I stopped enjoying it because I used to love like the creative problem solving element. And there are certain types of videos I make where there's no new problems to solve.
Yeah, sure.
And for those, it doesn't like scratch my brain. But whenever I'm doing something new, then I'm like way more hands-on.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I think one thing that I started with was having an assistant editor. And so basically paying someone to like cut up the dialogue of a given video so that I could still like make the creative editing decisions. Shorter. Yeah. Or just like reduce the amount of work that I had to do. And then that helps get the foot in the door.
Yeah.
Literally take a lot of the most tedious parts of the workflow that, let's be honest, we might just like kind of skip, and the workflow might just be worse because things aren't efficiently tagged, or fuck, I'm not tracking things correctly. My bucket's all fucked. I mean, Sad Boys, we edited very early on, but the current iteration of Sad Boys and my channel in particular, I've never edited on anything on my channel.
Really?
Because I knew if I was, because we already had someone that would be, now 2 people that are perfect for it. I never wanted to touch it because then I'm only going to see what it isn't.
True.
It is.
That's
from
a good idea.
Moment one, it's like, oh, this is the actually we can't go into too much detail. We're doing some like working with like a brand graphic design person right now, and we give them mood boards and feedback, but we keep it a little kind of esoteric, like give it a little distance, because
it's a good way to protect yourself.
Yeah, and I like.
Also, I'm
my
sure
idea.
you know this. Do you guys know that you can't search Sad Boys on Instagram?
I know, it pisses me off, and I've talked to Instagram's people, and their answer is that it's a tool that they have to like protect people,
right?
And I'm like, it has a Z at the end.
Yeah.
Like I understand like the purpose, but like I just don't.
Could you change the username?
it's just such a good handle.
Yeah.
And it's the same everywhere.
Protect
Yeah.
them from what?
It when it comes up, I think it was like 2 weeks ago that I looked. It says like this search is not enabled for mental health reasons or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's like so people can't like probably glorify sad boys.
Can't find out what sad is.
Yeah, it's such
I
a
feel
protect them when we
fine.
can.
Oh no.
it's such
No, I
a
found
bizarre
this.
place to it's such a bizarre place to help in my view, and it's such a bizarre way because if you have a real account, it says, can we help? Words you're searching are often associated with sensitive content.
Boys.
If you're going through a difficult time, we've gathered some resources from experts we hope can help.
That's so annoying, especially for a brand. But related to that, you're both boys. I've noticed this thing on Instagram recently where like I can't use TikTok, it melts my brain. But I see reels on Instagram and they're okay with me because it's not reel after reel. It's like a reel and then an image. And then a reel and an
I
image.
agree. Not as claustrophobic.
I don't know if this is my perspective because I'm a woman, but I feel like comment sections right now fucking hate women. It's like everything I see is like a woman dancing on a boat and then the comments are whore, attention seeker, women tea. And I had assumed it would be getting better over time, that like we would maybe start liking women more. I feel like it's getting worse.
They're a more professional misogynist than ever before. The grift is taking people that just hated women into loathing.
And making them millionaires. And there's all this stuff where like people will interview a woman on the street and be like, how much does a guy have to earn?
And then they
date you?
selectively
and they
pick.
only pick those ones.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is not what most women are doing. Why do these videos keep fucking getting views?
Wow, $80,000 a year, that's not enough for you? Women are so unreasonable.
It's
Their
insane.
standards are so
They
unfair.
have this like this wedding ring one that I commented on once where someone was like, oh, it's got to be like 10K. And I commented, I don't even remember why, but I was like, I would not care the value of a wedding ring as long as I felt like it was personalized. You can give me a $10 wedding ring, but as long as I felt like you thought about me when you bought it, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I got DM'd, men were so upset that they were like, sure you fucking do. Like so
That's
angry
not
about
true.
it.
Now, I don't know any women, but that one I saw
just got real out of hand real fast.
Do they not think there are people that feel... That's the weird thing is the comment is always, this is why we need racially segregated schools. And I'm like, sorry, did you not think there were unlikable black people? Did you just think it was... everyone...
You just see one and you're
of
like,
anyone.
Yeah.
Like it's so out of control in a way that I was like, holy shit, like I really... Like I knew sexism was a thing, but now you just
it's become an internet.
women.
It's like such a moment
It's
on the
chic
internet.
now.
It's chic. There's a huge market for it because of your Andrew Tates of the
right,
world.
and that's why the videos where they're like, how much money do you have to earn, just keep getting views. Like it's like these people are enjoying consuming content where they hate women.
I think Tate has made a really
huge impact.
His dent is weird because it's the same demographic as the 2010s grifters of a Ben Shapiro, a Jordan Peterson,
Right.
a Dave Rubin, any of these guys who they coded professional and they coded themselves as intellectuals.
True.
And then now, well, I think like the Andrew Tate audience has realized, especially the younger ones, is that like, while a Jordan Peterson guy has to say like, well, in fact, if you were to look at the data, and instead the Andrew Tate goes and go, I'm going to kill you with karate.
I know.
I'm going to punch you into space.
Literally, like I remember back in 2018, I think was probably the last time I made tech videos. I just
saw a RuneScape video you made the other day.
Very early on in my YouTube career, I would talk about tech stuff. I was working as a software engineer, so I knew that. Talking about that stuff. And I remember getting this comment from someone that was like, "I'm a black woman," or they're like, "I'm a black girl. I'm 16 or 17 or something like that. Do you think that I would be able to do this career?" And when I first saw the comment, there was already a thread of replies. And one of the top replies was, unfortunately, the IQs for black people are in the lower percentiles. And for women, it's also low. So just based on the combination of that, I don't think it's a good idea. And it was like the Reddit intellectual where it's like all of this is what you're describing is bunk and fake.
Fucking hell.
Have you heard of pair bonding?
No.
So there's this theory that the more partners a woman has, her ability to bond with the next one will weaken over time. So the more sex a woman has, the less and they're like, it's science. Pair bonding is science. Like, no, it's fucking not.
Sex is a zero-sum game. You have 200 sexes to have.
And then you can't fall in love anymore. And I just keep thinking with so many of these things, and I think this is fully Andrew Tate, is all like, there's like a woman's over 30, she's used up, you don't want her anymore, she's not malleable. All you're constantly admitting to is wanting to be able to manipulate someone.
True.
If a woman's over 30, she has the experience to know she's being treated like shit. In theory, if she's had more partners, she understands her own boundaries better. And so you're like, she's a slut, and therefore she won't love me.
It's like when people are like try and debate the age of consent, but they aren't saying, "Oh, I want to date somebody under X age." What they're saying is like, "Hey, I'm just playing around. I'm just throwing numbers.
It's just science."
Me personally, I would never, but peak fertility.
Yeah.
And like, okay, but why do you care about? Why is this the fight you're having? Why are you not like, if you want a sample size, pick and choose? I'm sure you could find some like women over 30 you don't like, or like that there's embarrassing footage of, or cringy stuff. It just happens to be pretty much always people the same age as whoever is criticizing them.
Yep.
It's the girls at my school, or the girls at my college, or my job, or my...
It's just the girls who didn't want to fuck me is really what I think it is.
Which believing that stuff means everyone.
Yeah, true. Ain't nobody want to fuck you.
It's, I mean, Andrew Tate and his brother, like, they had like guides on how to like remove a woman from their
network.
Basically like
manipulate them,
and by kind of making them the only person that they could get any sort of support from. And it's like so gross, but that is always you always feel that in the subtext of those like manosphere type guys. I got a really interesting, I wasn't sure I really wanted to talk about this, but like somebody wrote this long post on my subreddit, and one of the things that they said, it was critical of me, and if you want to go, you can read it, you can, but they deleted their account because like no one agreed with them, and I kind of felt bad because I didn't see it for like weeks. But one of the things they said was they were like, I turned a blind eye when Jarvis and Jordan turned that blackface show into a series, or Jarvis's content.
Sorry, what?
Oh, it's a show called Black White. It's
you left this post.
You did what?
But bookmark that. And the other
you
thing,
would love it.
Oh God.
The other thing, it was like, and he makes content out of people who hate women. Why would he do that with so many female fans? And I'm like, I don't. Like, I'm making fun of them.
I got that with Andrew Tate too. I made an Andrew Tate video and people are like, why would you spread his word? I'm like, well, okay, I know that I probably have a crossover with the audience he has, to be honest. I probably have some young men. Right. And if I'm being like, don't be like this guy, that's better than just letting him get in their feet.
Well, that's
anyway.
the thing. And it's not like, I'm not trying to say that have this holier than thou purpose or anything like that. But I do think in the entertainment landscape, it is valuable to give kind of tools for poking humorous holes in these arguments that these people are making. Yeah. Because if you can turn it into entertainment and you can figure out something to laugh at, then it can start to take the teeth away and make it seem like young men feel persecuted.
I do think we are failing young men in a number of ways, to be honest.
And the thing is, it's very... There's a sect of people who will disagree with that. And a sect of people that will say, you know, these men have everything, the patriarchy, blah, 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 which I also understand that side of the argument. But the
entitlement is not justified. We are failing young men.
Yes.
Because we're failing everyone in nuanced ways.
Yeah.
Like materially. Like there are boys that feel uncared for by society.
Can't express their emotions. Their dads are still telling them they're girls. Like,
most of them are not. When they say like, I can't get laid and that's not fair, they're not really talking about sex. Because they don't have sex. They don't care. What they're talking about is success and like feeling like
acceptance,
feeling
and validity.
Attractive, and it's completely unacceptable and unreasonable. But these are not like not criticism is. Incels are virgins. Like that's the point. They're not criticizing like, oh, this thing that I love to do.
I can't do anymore.
You've just never done
It's,
it.
it's
Like,
so
you don't-
hard to
You
talk.
like the idea of being someone that has sex.
It's
Yeah,
so hard
true.
to talk about because I think a lot of people, especially on the left, will like laugh at this concept that, you know, like it, because it's something that the right will cry like we're failing our young boys. It's like that meme, that Jordan Peterson meme.
These young men.
Yeah, but the material reality is that, you know, there are boys who are lost and they're looking for answers, and they find people who speak with a lot of authority that seem to back up their beliefs with evidence.
Yeah, they make some shit up.
Or
but they
like,
say it with conviction.
Yeah, they say it with conviction.
I said it very loud, so I think I'm right.
Yeah, and
I did karate.
I think that
That's all we need.
trying to create spaces that don't immediately shoo away those people, and it is hard, but I think it's like a noble effort. Like personal experience, I was one of those guys when I was like in high school that was like, I'm just a nice guy, like girls don't like me because I'm too nice or something like that. I need to be a bad boy or something, you know, but I didn't take it out on anyone. It was like more just like I would be depressed about myself, like within my in my room. And there was kind of like this like fork in the road, you know, and
I've heard many guys say that, to be honest. Like many men I know who are like, I could have gone hard down that route and it wouldn't have even been that difficult, but I just didn't hate women, so I didn't go that way.
Well, it's like
I was coin flipped.
Turns out I liked my mom.
I was, it's like I was raised by only women in my life. It's like I was raised by my mom, and I was raised by her sister, and I was, you know, raised by my aunt, and like they were all good people. I was like, I don't think hating women is like the answer. But when I shared this in a video about the subreddit True Rate Me, which is a subreddit where incels post photos of women that they've seen on the internet or know in real life and pretend that they're them in order to
Insult them.
Yeah. 6 out of 10 overrate.
It's so funny.
You're banned.
Also, why wouldn't you date me? I'd like to.
Yeah.
and so I talked about this. I shared a little bit of this, and disproportionately, I got so many DMs. People like, I'm in high school. I'm a guy. I feel like this. I have this issue with my self-image. How do you fix it?
Yeah.
And I don't like, there's not like a panacea. There's not like a silver bullet, but it really, it's like I'm making entertainment at the end of the day. But at the same time, I am, if sharing my experience and sharing my worldview through that entertainment is offering some sort of olive branch to people
For them to not go to Andrew Tate.
right, but but not at the expense of supporting, you know, the LGBTQ plus like members of our community or the women in our community, then it's like everybody can kind of coexist and you can coexist together. That's like the thread that you're trying to thread, because you don't want to make one side angry that you're not going hard enough about these guys, but you don't want to make another side feel uncared for and kind of further, you know, it's like in a thumbnail, if you just go like Sneeko sucks, then there's going to be some Sneeko fans that are like, oh, this guy's just one of those haters. Sure. You know, and Sneeko does suck. So maybe that's not the angle that I go in at, but I'm sure there's more nuance. There's more issues on the fringes that, you know, we can discuss or talk about and kind of open that dialogue.
I was part of one of the AOC streams in 2021, 2020. I don't remember, that I think Hassan was helping to put together. And the one I did, I'm pretty sure XQC was on as well. And so it was like, I don't know, a bunch of streamers, AOC, Hassan, XQC, and people were angry at me for doing a stream with XQC, who I still like don't really know very much about, to be honest. And I asked AOC's reps, I was like, people are upset about this. I don't really know this guy or what he's done that people are mad about. And they said that I think the idea was like probably in discussion with Hassan, or I'm not sure who to assign it to, but that they didn't want to just like alienate his audience as well. Like they were like, well, if we're doing this and the point is to raise money for these causes because they were charity streams, why would we not try to also get the audience that's like maybe on a like slightly more right fringe into that as well?
And like be
young boys.
He is the opposite side of the funnel that is saying like, hey, I'm XQC and I'm hanging out with these people.
Right.
It's very weird to...
So like you could just exclude him, which I think is like what the people who are mad at me wanted.
And he could have said no. But he is like, no, I'm going to hang out with
and they're like, we want those people to see that. And I was like, okay, I get that. Like, I don't know what decision I would have made if I were the organizer there. Especially because the people who were upset with me were like almost entirely people of color. And I was like, oh, there's clearly something has happened that I'm too privileged to be aware of.
It would literally be like if somebody walked up to us while we're sitting here and went like, hey guys, get fake gamer, right? And we're like, we're hanging out. What do you think we think?
I'm just fighting for ethics in games journalism.
Yeah, dude. It's actually, it's very nuanced. See, that's what the Tate guys have freed everyone of, is like, oh no, you don't need a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to reframe this thing that really doesn't make sense.
You don't have to pretend to care about anything.
You just have to like do planks and like yell at a barista for calling it a venti or something. Like, that's it. Film them.
It's a better world. You're right.
It's actually
it's a weird time online, and this is one of those situations where we're like, you know, a lot of stuff online isn't real. A lot of the like things that people get upset about and yada 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 is like not real, but I think that this is a very real thing and it shouldn't be ignored because I remember, I don't know if it would be okay for me to share this, but a friend, I'll just say a friend, I was talking to a friend who has kids and they were like, I learned about Andrew Tate, Sneeko, from my kids at the dinner table.
Damn.
And I'm like,
that's scary.
Oh, that's scary. Yeah. And it's like, this is happening. And some people will go, well, what's the big idea? I mean, Andrew Tate just wants men to be confident. And it's like, that's not the whole story.
And that's the dangerous part, is he sometimes says things that are like kind of true. Yeah. And that's what, like, there was something where he was like, you know, if I go out and it rains that day, I'm not allowed to be mad at the universe because I got wet. I didn't have the foresight to bring an umbrella. And I was like, you know what? If you start with that, I can see why people are like,
Jordan
interesting
Peterson
frame
says,
of
clean
mind.
your room. Yeah.
Hey, you should like
you should work out and be healthy. That's things that we're all in support of.
Maybe you should improve your quality of life.
And then he's like, but also fuck bitches, get money.
Literally, it's like the whole, it's like, look at this horse. We've made this beautiful horse. And the horse is working out and eating healthy and going to sleep on time. Come in.
Then the horse beats women.
Yeah. Oh no, inside the horse. Oh fuck.
Yeah, it's tough because the gateway makes a lot of sense and then just so quickly escalates. And I don't know what the solution is. Like, I don't know. Again, I had always assumed that like women hating shit would get worse because I think in my career it has gotten better. Like, I used to be accused of like not even really liking video games and all playing video games for attention. That happens like occasionally, but a lot less often than it used to.
Well, you know, people go into games journalism for the money.
Right, exactly. And on all the attention and accolades.
To pretend to like
so
it.
funny. Attention from gamers.
Yeah. You want to get hit on at PAX and then you want to...
There's so many easier ways to get attention than to make a review of Starfield. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And
I remember seeing constant shit about like, Jessica Negri's pretending to like games. And I'm like, sorry, she's spending thousands of dollars and hours to make cosplays to then go to events, traveling to those events.
For attention. It's nuts. You can do so many things for attention.
For whose? For this?
For you?
What you're getting right now.
It's also like even basic, like even people who don't particularly love attention, every human needs attention. Like that is a human need. It's such a weird thing to criticize. And it's so often just directed at women in a way that like, I don't see men get to choose being attention seekers very often.
Right. Like a dude posts a shirtless gym photo. Yeah, no one goes, he's just looking for validation. Yeah.
But
he's just wearing like that tight shirt for looks.
For women.
Yeah.
But that has gotten better, but I still like more than anything probably on YouTube I don't want to hear a woman talk about video games or a woman doesn't know what she's talking about. I get that like almost every single day. Like it's so frequent that I'm like, okay, it's improved, but it's still a thing. Whereas now I'm seeing like stuff in reels that like I assume is directed at younger audiences where I'm like, oh, it's maybe is getting worse. And like, I literally don't know what the solution is. Like, because if women talk about it, you get accused of being a professional victim or you get accused of being an attention seeker. So you can't actually talk about any of the kind of shit that's going on. Yeah. But then if you're silent, it propagates itself. Like, I literally don't know what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Other than be like at least I feel like women have each other's backs more and more. Like that is getting better. Like,
and at least like there's at least like we are making fun of these people.
There is a counter movement that exists.
Yeah, because they are comical. It's not.
Yeah.
It is very insidious, but there's this super like transparent version of it now. Like instead of dog whistling, it's just yelling.
Big dumb babies.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
I think I also don't know the answers here. One thing that I think about, especially because there's so many young boys on the receiving end of this, like they're the ones consuming this content.
Right.
Yeah, they clicked on your thumbnail to say, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
And
not interesting to me. I'll watch it, but like,
and I do.
Shut up, woman.
You walked into my house.
Yeah.
Also, 40 minutes in, actually, no, you're wrong about this.
I think one thing that I try to remind myself is that a lot of these people are young, and so their strong opinions weakly held. And they have malleable minds.
True, I thought some stupid shit when I was a teenager.
Right. And I've now been in the game for like, I think I've been making YouTube videos for almost 6 years, or I think 6 years as of, holy shit. Anyway, and over that time, I've now had people who I'll get DMs where they will DM me, and the last time they DM'd me was 3 years ago. And 3 years was an eternity in their own development.
I've had apologies from people who were like, oh my God, I just saw the last message that I sent you. I'm so sorry. I'm 18 now.
No,
and I was like, oh, you are a 15-year-old boy.
They're like, I don't know what I was saying 3 months ago or 3 years ago. And they'll also go, I really didn't agree with you about this, that, and the other thing, but I've reflected and I'm not doing anything. It's like in most of the cases I didn't even respond.
Yeah.
And I think that is cool. And it also gives me some hope. I'm not like carte blanche. This is I have all the hope because everyone will change their minds.
No,
eventually.
but you might be right that maybe I'm being like too cynical and that I'm like everyone's fucking doomed. But maybe
I don't
it's
think
not.
I don't.
Very
I think
healthy
you're
amount
very
of
valid,
cynicism.
actually. Yeah.
Plus, you're always going to have a scope into stuff like that. Like as a
you
general
were seeing
sentiment.
the women hating firsthand.
Yeah.
And it can be, and it's
certainly
direct.
true.
Like when you get a bad comment, like the flavor of it, like I can't receive a women hating comment. You know what I mean? Like it's like, or if I do, it's like when we collaborate with women, or if I have women on my channel, the comment I get is shipping us, which is another thing. That's annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, or being uncharitable to a woman and them not understanding where that's coming from. Like, oh, why do you think the woman guest talks too much or is annoying?
Yeah, I had that once where I got accused of cutting people off too much, which I certainly do. But I did an insane thing and tallied it because I kept getting those
tallied
comments.
it, not the comment?
Yeah, I tallied it. I got the comments on IGN. And so I tallied 5 separate episodes of this show. I cut people off the least. And it was a recurring comment. Agreed, she does it too much. Agreed, she does it too much. Alanah, I just wish you'd let someone finish a sentence. I fucking tallied it. I did it the least of all 4 of them.
I mean, they're talking about like the exchange rate, right? Like you get the exchange rate on woman coin is very low. You are not allowed
but woman
to.
spoke too much. That's the tough thing about it is like we do it all the time on Play, Watch, Listen, and I don't care because it's a conversation. Cutting someone off to like condescend is different, and I get it's annoying to listen to. That's the problem, but it's like just means you're having a comfortable conversation. We cut each other off all the time. It's a human thing to do. Like
Normal.
people do it.
And you have to account for the narrative
Unless
of the
you're a woman.
conversation as well. Like this, or if I have a follow-up thought and then I want to genuinely get an opinion on it, you don't want to lose the place in that conversation. And you also don't want somebody to feel, I don't know, it's very nuanced, and I do know that there's a lot of people that just are annoying in general in life and probably get the feedback of like, can you fucking stop
Shut the
doing
fuck
that?
up.
And they're hearing that as like, oh, never say a word while there's noise from anyone else. That's how it works. I see.
Yeah, a lot of the people who really have the problem aren't the ones who are open to change and learn.
Yeah.
And it's falling on, non-listening ears.
It is nice to like, I don't know, like sometimes I do want to appreciate how much of difficult things I see are just like poorly delivered or semi invalid or whatever attempts at constructive criticism. Whereas those like reels we're talking about is truly, they're trying to get to the person for some reason. Like it's a prank channel, or it's like, we looked at a woman until she ran away. And they're like, coward woman. You are so slow at running. Like, she's not.
She's on like the Las Vegas Strip or something.
Yeah, you literally can't go anywhere.
Yeah, she's like trying to enjoy her night, and this man is pestering her with man on the street questions. It's like, why won't women just stand up for their own beliefs? I'm like, this woman is clubbing. Like he is trying to enjoy her night, and a man with a camera is like, no, miss, how much money is enough? Yeah.
And she's just like taking her AirPods. What are you saying to me? I don't understand.
How many people have you fucked?
Yeah. Tell me the number. If it doesn't matter, you would tell me.
Not that it's like your obligation or anything, but like, do you feel like, especially moving into game development, there is like this, I don't know, like a position of authority. You get to push back on comments. Not that you should have one, like, well, actually, I am allowed to be involved with games because I'm making them. But like, if somebody were to just be like, yeah, Jordan's so short, and then they meet me, I'm like, but I'm not. That's it. There's not. It's like Alanah doesn't like or know anything about games, but she does.
I think that most of my audience is actually super respectful and does have respect for what I say. Like, I've cultivated a very good YouTube community, in my opinion. It's when the strangers come in, but usually people will defend me. Like, usually someone will be like, "The fuck are you talking about?" Or like, if I ever work with a brand and they post something of me, there will always be comments like, this girl pretends to know, or Alanah pretends to know about video games. But there will always be a comment being like, are you high out of your mind? Because the amount of stuff you would have to have tried not to watch to think I don't play video games is like very high. Like it's just 10 years of content. Of me talking about
why?
Video games. I don't know.
Why am I like, I don't
know.
like, what would
specifically
the win be?
to annoy me?
Yeah.
But there is some really weird stuff with game development specifically that is just an ongoing YouTube thing where people who have zero experience whatsoever, who've never worked in games, have very strong opinions and say them with absolute authority. And you're like, it's like, I always use this example. It's like listening to somebody who ate some chicken McNuggets talk about why the chef is bad.
Yeah.
Like,
or farming.
Yeah. Like, you think because you played a bunch of video games, you know how they're made. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about. And I didn't even know how bad it was until I went from talking about video games professionally at a place like IGN to making them. And I was like, I was that person. I said a bunch of bullshit that I assumed was true because I was like, I've spoken to enough games. And I was wrong about fucking everyone. Why did anyone listen to me? Yeah. And that's like half of the successful gaming YouTube channels are like people who just have zero experience. And so there's this really weird culture in gaming specifically where people actually don't want to hear the dev perspective. Like, they'll call me a shill. They'll be like, you're an apologist. And I'm like, I'm really just trying to tell you the truth of the situation. But at a certain point, I have to be like, you don't want to hear it. There's nothing I can do about you not wanting to hear it. Okay. Like, this is for the people who are open to hearing the information.
Right.
For everyone else, okay.
To be fair, your company also is like, and I guess like the extended Sony cinematic universe of dev teams is, at least as a consumer, feels a lot less decentralized than a lot of other ones where like I know names of people involved in the development.
Sure.
Like Corey's video of him like reading reviews after the launch.
Yeah.
That is the association you would make, or like Neil Druckmann in the case of Naughty Dog or something like that.
Yep.
Which is
humanizing them helps.
To some extent, it's whether with movies, TV, games, anything, it is silly to give all like author value to only a director or only a writer.
Oh,
or
totally,
like
yeah.
That. But it's at least like a step forward. Whereas, I don't know, like I am medically dangerously into Baldur's Gate 3 right now. I don't really know Larian Studios. I don't really know a lot of names in there, and I consider myself a enthusiast. But just because I haven't done my due diligence, I don't know, and I can see someone being like, I don't know.
I wish they would do it more.
Frame rate drop here, and they're like, "Yes, it's fucking 1.5 people."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish there was allowed to be more transparency with devs. It would be very nice if people are actually allowed to talk about their work more. It's really secret, like Nintendo especially, like so locked down on what they do and how they do it that it's like, if we could help gamers understand, because my biggest beef with like the whole games industry community ecosystem is there's this thing where it's gamers versus game devs versus games media. And the perception is they all fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
Really, it should be those three against publishers. It should be the three of these unified. We love video games. We all play video games.
Right.
The suggestion that games media don't play video games is stupid. The suggestion games dev don't play video games is stupid. Gamer applies to all three of those. The publishers are the ones who want the money. All three of these against those would be way better than this fucking infighting where the rich people making all the money are like, ha 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 ha.
Yo, literally.
It sucks.
That fucking what's
Man,
the name
capitalism.
of the team again?
Exactly.
What's this
Always comes
Shadow of War team called it? The WB one that got shut down because of they Shadow of War launched.
Was it not just made by WB Montreal?
Yes, it was. All right.
Was it? Is that right? I think it was.
I believe so. Yeah, it's
gonna
definitely.
Google
It was when they still had all of the authority over the Lord of the Rings license.
Yeah.
But Nemesis system being copyrighted or whatever, patented.
Yes.
And the insane monetization stuff they put in, so much of the pushback was like, this studio, did they forget how to make the game? Between the last game and this one, did they forget?
Of course it wasn't them.
And it's like, no,
It was made by Monolith.
Oh, of course. Oh,
Yeah.
RIP. But no, dude. Do you think they have the choice of do you think they get the money?
Yeah. And part of that is people like, well, if you don't like microtransactions as a dev, just leave. The problem is, again, capitalism, is that then everybody just has to leave the whole industry. Like video games just stop being made. Leaving and even voting with your wallet is not actually a solution to any of these problems. Because like, say you don't like microtransactions, rant about it all the time, be like, I'm gonna vote with my wallet. You fucking do, and you buy them. Yeah. Like majority of gamers will buy microtransactions, so it doesn't work. You can flaunt that on Twitter all you like, but for every single person who's buying everything in FIFA Ultimate Team over and over and over and over again, which they keep doing, every other company in the industry has to be like, why aren't you making as much as Ultimate Team? We're publicly traded. You got to make that on the stock market. ASAP.
The
so
idea
it's like,
of like
you always vote with your fucking wallet, and it's not going well.
Yeah.
They keep losing.
Yeah. You keep voting for the wrong shit.
Well, the issue is that voting with your wallet most of the time is, at least in the online sphere, the capital D discourse shit, is not buying things as opposed to engaging
buying
with and
things
supporting
yeah.
stuff that you like.
It's also the like Call of Duty cycle where they're like, this looks shit, I'm not buying it. Same thing every year. And then they're like the same people. You'll see they posted that on a forum and then you see that actively playing the next one.
Yeah,
Oh
they're
my
just
God.
like, this is, I'm not playing Vanguard. There's a chick on there.
Yeah.
Also, it's a year later. I'm not buying the new Call of Duty. I'm still playing Vanguard.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a lot. And
Hey,
again,
Alanah, I'm back. I'm on every single video. Just wanted to remind you that I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
I would never watch your content.
I'm skipping before the
Again.
end.
So YouTube now shows you like how long someone's been a subscriber, but I would love if they showed you how
do they?
in the studio. Like when someone leaves a comment, you can like hover over if they're a subscriber and it tells you how long.
Sorry to, as a quick aside, because I've been wanting to know how to do it for ages. I had this guy who was like harassing me across like 100 videos, and I didn't know until people told me about it because they managed to somehow find his comment history on YouTube.
Oh.
How do you do that?
I don't know how to. Oh,
It was like
wait.
something where they were like, we can see that all your comments on every video are about her.
There's, okay, I don't know, but there is a feature on mobile where when you tap into somebody, it will show you some of the recent comments that they've left.
Interesting.
But
Because I would love to be able to do that in
I wish you
studio,
could do
because then
that.
I'd be like, oh, I don't give a fuck what
That
you
would
have
help
to say.
so much because you can do it on Twitch. You can like look at someone's, and I think that would be so useful. I wonder. I recently had a YouTube person DM me and ask me my opinions about some stuff, and I'm gonna send them a message.
Do
about
that one.
Yeah.
Let us see comment history. Sorry, you were saying there's a thing on YouTube Studio.
How long they've been subscribed?
Yes, I was just saying I want to know how long someone has watched the current video because
Before
it
they
would
leave
be
a comment.
before they leave the comment and then just in total because it would be so funny to see somebody who's like I'm not watching this and they've watched every video you've ever made.
I do love a comment that is like clearly didn't watch the video, and I go, "Did you watch this?" And they're like, "No, but I'm about to." I'm like,
Oh,
I was waiting for my meal to be ready, and I'm going to sit down with my family.
Yeah, it would help.
I'm gonna like it.
It would help so much too because people a lot of times are just shouting out in the void.
Yeah.
and they don't expect to be heard.
no, true.
And and so it would really help, I think, for creators to understand where people are coming from. But you know, so it goes.
Get the perspective.
Wowzers. That's a long podcast.
Stop right now.
Thanks so much to Alanah for joining us.
Thanks
This
for
is a
having me.
very insightful discussion.
Thank you, Alanah.
We are going to continue this insightful discussion and maybe talk a little bit about Pokemon Go over on patreon.com/sadboys with Sad Boys Nights, the premium podcast for our Patreon pals.
Wow, that's a lot of peace.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did we normally do that?
Plosives.
It was Dipper's fault. Dipper peed before we recorded
lot.
that.
It was
He did
incredible.
so
A
much.
hearty pee.
More than 40 seconds.
It was
yeah.
I've never
so
seen anything like
long.
It's the most masculine thing I've ever seen.
It was, yeah, he pulled rank.
Yeah,
real
he
hard.
did.
Oh, is that so?
Should get that checked out.
Alanah, is there anything that you want to plug or talk about? Let the audience know about.
Yeah, I work at Sony Santa Monica Studio. We make cool video games. And then
Hell yeah.
outside of that, I have various YouTube channels and social medias at Charizard. It's my name in the middle of Charizard. Nobody ever knows how to spell it. It's fine.
It literally clicked with me like 6 months ago.
I get
I'm
that a lot.
Oh, like
No,
a
I
name.
love it. I love it so much.
Is that one of those was Game Attack 10 years ago?
I
and
was
it's still-
13.
Yeah, all right.
Hey, I support it.
Soul Capture supports you in this moment.
We end every episode of Sad Boys with a particular phrase. We love you.
And we're sorry.
Boom. I just wanted to talk about you doing an American accent in this your reel or whatever that you did.
Which one do you want? I have several.
Oh.
Oh my God. Like, I can do a lot of them, actually.
Oh, that's so.
A racist man.
No, it's like, well, I don't know about that. But
I don't know why my Australian sounds like.
that's
what is
fucking
it?
terrible. But I
It's
love that
terrible?
you're attempting.
Gucci girl, how you doing? How you moving, girl? Moving, girl. How's your day looking? That future girl, yeah, we on now. Take my money, go away, or you want it?
Girl, too rich for me.